Chapter 7.1, Adjacent and Vertical Angles. Adjacent angles. Two angles are adjacent angles when they share a common side and have the same vertex. As you can see in the example, angles 1 and 2 are adjacent because they share the same line. 2 and 4 are not adjacent. They are across from each other. Vertical angles. Two angles are vertical angles when they are opposite angles formed by the intersection of two lines. Vertical angles are congruent angles, meaning they have the same measure. And as you can see in the picture, angles 1 and 3 are vertical, and angles 2 and 4 are also vertical. They are across from each other. And as 1 and 3 have one line, that means they are the same measure, and 2 and 4 have two lines, that means those two have the same measure. So it says naming angles. Use the figure shown. Name a pair of adjacent angles. So we need to find two angles that share a common side. So let's take, we have angle ABF. So we can have an angle that shares ABC, or that has the same as AB, or we can find an angle that has the same side as BF. Well, the easiest one for me is to choose angle FBE. They both share the side BF. Letter B says name a pair of vertical angles. So this is where we have the ones that are across from each other. So if you look right here, we have this angle right here. And if you can look at it, you can see that across from it we have this angle. These two angles are vertical angles. So we would name them ABF and angle CBD. And those are a pair of vertical angles. The next example says, name two pairs of adjacent angles and two pairs of vertical angles in the figure. So that means we need to have four angles that are adjacent and four angles that are vertical. So we're going to start with adjacent. So let's say we choose the angle YWX. We need to have another angle that shares with us YW or WX. So let's say we choose an angle with WX. Well, we know that this shares WX. So our other angle could be angle VWX. So now we have to come up with another angle. So let's say we choose VWZ. Again, we need to come up with another angle that shares a common side. So we can, let's say we choose WZ. So if we draw another line, there's our angle. So we know that ZWY is also an adjacent pair. So now we're left to vertical angles. Vertical angles, if you recall, are across from each other. So if we have this angle here, angle VWX, we know that this angle here is also going to be vertical. So that is ZWY. Now we're left with this angle here, XWY. Across from it, you're going to have VWZ. And those are two pairs of vertical angles. So now it says tell whether the angles are adjacent or vertical, then find the value of x. Well, as you can see, 70 degrees is across from angle x. So we know that they are vertical angles. And then it says find x. Well, we know vertical angles have the same measurement. So if this angle is 70 degrees, then this one must equal 70 degrees. So we can say that x equals 70 degrees. Going down to example B, we have a pair of complementary angles. That means two angles that equal 90 degrees. And they want to know Are they vertical or adjacent? Well, here's my clue right here. That line right there means they are adjacent. And they want us to find x. Well, we know that both of these angles are going to equal 90 degrees because of this right here. I know that this angle here is 31 degrees. So I can do 90 minus 31, which gives me 59 degrees. So this angle must equal 59 degrees, but they don't want that. They want to know what x is. So we know that 59 minus 4 will give me x, which is 55 degrees. Our next angle, are they vertical or are they adjacent? Or are they across from each other, or do they have a same line? Well, they do have a same line. So again, they are adjacent. How are we going to figure out x for this? Well, we know two angles that form a straight line are going to equal 180 degrees. So I can simply subtract 180 minus 85 degrees, and I will end up with 95 degrees. And the last problem, we have angle x, and we have this angle right here. Well, do they share a common side? No, they're across from each other, so we know that they are vertical. And we know since the one that has the arrow is 90 degrees, that means x must also be 90 degrees. Now the next thing we're going to do is draw a pair of vertical angles with a measure of 40 degrees. Alright, so the very first thing that you need to do is draw a line that goes the whole length of your protractor. So there's our straight line. Now with your protractor, at where the line is at 0, you need to find 40 degrees. So my 40 degrees is right here. What I now need to do is take my protractor, turn it, and draw some straight lines. These straight lines are going to help me to get my vertical angles. So I'm going to turn my protractor. Doesn't have to be perfect. And when I make I now have, move my protractor all the way, I now have an angle here that's 40 degrees and an angle here that's 40 degrees. So I now have two vertical angles that are 40 degrees. Now moving on to the next problem, it says draw a pair of vertical angles with a measure of 75 degrees. So I'm going to move my protractor down here, get this a little situated. I'm ready to go. So again, I'm going to draw my line straight across. Put a little mark in the middle, that way you know exactly where to make your line go through. This one we need 75 degrees, which we know is acute. So find 75, which is up here. Again, I'm going to turn my protractor. I'm going to make it go through my middle of my line. Looks good. Draw a straight line straight through, and now I have a 75 degree angle here and a 75 degree angle here. And I now have vertical angles that measure 75 degrees.